Hilton, with the students and I, just let's stipulate for people watching who don't know about the Writers House Fellows program, its centerpiece is a seminar of undergraduates. And we've been reading Hilton's work been reading your work for the last 5 weeks intensely. We had a 45-minute conversation about a passage from the women from the first section of it, in which I referred to it a few minutes ago, in which you read a story by Jamaica Kincaid, and then, knowing your mother would appreciate it, you read it aloud to her. Mm-hmm. And we talked, it became anthemic for us as intellectuals. We talked so much about why your mom understood exactly what Jamaica was saying about Barbados. Well, actually, she was thinking about Barbados. Mm-hmm. Kincaid was thinking about, I guess, Anguilla. And why it was so important for you to see your mother say that Kincaid had gotten it exactly right.
Well, I think it's also, as I think about it now, Al, I think it was a way of expressing an experience I didn't have, right?
That's right.
But that my mother had and Jamaica had. And it was a way of saying, I wish I could write this for you, but someone wrote it. So it was, so the thing that is really very interesting is how we find the language that we need to express things before we can express things. And reading Jamaica in the New Yorker was such an event in that magazine, And then there was the actual stories that she was telling were stories like Paul Marshall's Brown Girl Brownstones that I couldn't tell for her to my mother, but they mattered to her. Mm-hmm. And I recognized that when I read the stories.
Yeah. Exactly means, one, yes, Jamaica said it perfectly. Two, Hilton, my son, you're so right thinking that I would appreciate this. Mm-hmm. I'm sure there's a third and a fourth meaning of exactly.
And three is the self-generated hope that I'll write stories.
Yeah.
Matter,
Yeah. And fourth is, your mom, I represent the imagination. Your dad represents fact, which right. You get to in that passage. Leaving that aside, I am the imagination. You're going to do the work that I can't. I'm not right. a writer, but you're my right. son. Thank you for bringing me Jamaica.
That's right.
I wonder if you could read, of course, we've just talked about it a lot, so maybe there's not much left, but it's such a beautiful passage, Hilton. Maybe.
What page is it?
It's 21 of the women. And I wonder if you could read, actually, it's that long paragraph that ends with your mother saying exactly. Sure. It starts on 21.
She loved the ocean. She didn't return to Barbados until shortly before she died, but the Caribbean Sea was the subject of her conversation from time to time. Summers, my brother and I were sent to Barbados with packages of clothes and food as gifts. From time to time, the girl children of cousins and aunts she hadn't seen for years came to stay with us. My brother and I didn't like Barbados, but we loved our mother and preferred to imagine the island through her memories of it. In 1978, when I was 17, I read a story by a writer from the West Indies. The story, Wingless, had been written by Jamaica Kincaid. In it, I read this description of the Caribbean Sea and its surroundings. Quote, the sea, the shimmering pink-colored sand, the swimmers with hats, two people walking arm in arm, talking in each other's faces, in each other's face, dots of water landing on noses, the sea spray on ankles, on overdeveloped calves, the blue, the green, the black, so deep, so smooth, the great and swift undercurrent, glassy, the white wavelets, unquote. This story changed everything. It taught me how language could be made visual and how memory combined with the imagination made the visual resonate. After I read this story, I read it aloud to my mother as she sat before me dying. After I read it, my mother said, exactly.
Holy shit. It's all there, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah, including you prefer to imagine, Hilton. That's like, sorry to be planning your epitaph, but that's it in a nutshell, isn't it? He preferred to imagine.
yes, yes.
And
I mean,
and your
it's,
mother was witness to your preference.
yes. I wonder, Al, if it's, if what you're asking me in a way is, am I headed toward writing fiction?
Well, either that or the somewhere halfway between Pryor's Love and You and What Army
Yes.
is a genre never invented yet.
Okay, so then I'm doing it for you, Al.
Oh man.
Yes, you're a total inspiration. I can't, I'm going to take your course.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
I just love how your brother and you don't like the island. You don't like Barbados. And rather than turning that into a difference between you and your mom, it
Right.
turns into a connection that makes you a writer. That
Yeah.
is fucking amazing.
Well, it's one way in which you get to, um, isn't it? It's harder to turn things around than it is to say you hate them,
Yeah.
or to
Yeah.
disclaim or to reject.
Yeah.
It's much more difficult to say, what is it? And where can I find a
Right.
connection to someone I love through it, you know?
Yeah. I mean, you're trying to turn it into a positive. First, your mother essentially, you say, this is not me saying, this is you saying, essentially killed herself slowly. And tired out of being so communitarian for everybody.
Mhm.
Um, so you saw her disappearing and you decided that Jamaica could help you create exactitude between you, exactly.
Right. And also,
Between you.
don't we find the writers that we need, um, it did change everything to read her in that magazine because, um, it was one of the first times that a story was something that I could recognize, you know, from a world that I understood or knew something about, certainly, or recognized. And I think, that's a great service when you can write in a way that gives folks their own language.